Hi, I'm Lillie Martin, and I'm a customer success manager here at Notion. I've been at Notion for almost 4 years, and I started out in customer experience. So if you've ever written in, I might have been on the other side of that chat box. But these days, I help our enterprise customers get the most out of Notion. So really helping them build their workspaces out to make sure that Notion is working for everyone on the team. So we have, workspaces of 100 users or 2,000 users, and really making sure that that build, each page, is helping each person. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about how I do that. Specifically, we're going to go over the ins and outs of creating a company or team wiki or homepage. So if you've used Notion, you probably have seen it being used for a wiki, but we're going to go over a couple of different features that you can add in and a couple of different ways that you can use your Notion workspace to house your wiki content, including in a database. So we're looking at here is a kind of standard wiki. So if you look at these sections, Fig.io general, etc. They have different subpages. And the Fig here is named after my dog. This is our test workspace. Usually he's walking around in the background, but right now he's just in spirit. And so we have this Fig home, and this is really where all of the content for this company is housed. So the history, mission and values, the company-wide content, things like team directory, policies and benefits, etc. So we have these different sections built out in different columns. You can use this left sidebar here to navigate. That's how I see a lot of people using Notion. However, you don't get the full context of the wiki. So for example, I can't see that hot topics is in feedback and development and not in Fig.io general or policies and benefits. And so I encourage users to kind of just use this left sidebar to navigate the top level pages, and then use the wikis or whatever top level pages you have and navigate within them, because your end users will get a richer experience that way. As you can see, I've added some additional content here. So we have the headers and the dividers and the columns, but I've added some gray text here. And if I wanted to, I could duplicate this by selecting the block handle and duplicating it. I can drag it over to feedback and development, and I can edit this. So maybe I can change this to be feedback documentation, etc. So you can kind of flesh out how these different sections will look for you and add some context. At the top here, we also have a page owner area, in which I've mentioned a colleague of mine, and I've also set a reminder for when this page needs to be updated. So I did that just by using the @ symbol and then typing my colleague's name, and then using the @ symbol and typing the date. Then I've clicked in and selected reminder, and this will remind that user, David Apple, 1 week before. If we go into the What's New page, I've done the same thing here. So I'm the owner here, and I've set a different date that needs updating. At the top here, I've also added a callout block, and this is a callout block that calls attention to these other pages. So these are the must-read docs. So if your end users land on this page, they know what they need to read immediately. And these are just @mentioned as well. So again, typing the @ symbol and then typing the title of the page. And they're linked from within. So this is the What's New page, the mission and values, and the office manual. So hopefully that's a little helpful in terms of how you can kind of advance your wiki in Notion. But like most things in Notion, there are many ways to create content and many different ways to build out your workflows. So I'm going to show you how to do this in a database as well. But first, I want to review how you get to build this. So I'm going to build a wiki from scratch. So I'm going to go to the left sidebar and just create a new page. Right now, I'm just going to do it in my private section, and then we can move it to the workspace section. So I'm going to name this Company Home. I can add an emoji, home, can add a cover if I want, style it however I'd like. And then I'm just going to click in. Here I can start typing, give a little bit of context as to what this page is. So maybe this is the source of truth. And again, I can select this. I can change the color, make it gray. I can italicize it if I'd like. Again, just clicking and selecting Command I, just give it a little subtlety. Then I can start creating my section. So I can use the / command to pull up the block menu. And I'm going to insert a header. So I'm going to type header, and I'm going to select number 2, the second largest size. So I'm going to create a team section. I'm going to use the header, the / command again, and /divide to insert a divider. So you can see it's starting to look like the Fig home that we built out. And I'm going to use /page now to create a subpage. So I'm going to create another what's new page, an emoji. I like the star for this one. And I'm going to continue to create subpages and build this out. It's quite easy to do. Again, just using that /page, title it, add the emoji that you want. And you can use these pages to, build out your content. You can contain databases within each page. So usually when I'm making an employee directory here, I would actually insert a database here. So if I click templates, I'm actually building out this company home that we have a template version of. So you can check out this template and you can see the company directory that we use here. It's very visual, so you can have pictures of your colleagues, include their location, their role, etc., what team they are. And so usually I would, insert this option here. I'm gonna add an emoji from out here. And now I'm going to start a new section. So I'm going to use that / command again to insert a header. And this is going to be a policies section. And instead of using the / command for the divider, I can actually just use -- to insert a divider. And if I didn't want to use the / command for the page, I could use this plus button here. And that gives you access to that block menu as well. So it's really up to you if you want to use your keyboard shortcuts and the / command or click into that plus button. So I'm creating this new section here. Again, just quickly to showcase how you can build out these subpages and organize them. So we've got a small wiki here. Again, you can have so many different kinds of content here. Usually I suggest a company-wide or team-wide page for your wiki. But once you settle on the kind of content and add in the pages to kind of be the retainer for your content, you can start to structure it. So here we have these 2 sections, and I'm going to put them in a column structure like we saw in the Fig home. To do so, I'm just going to select these blocks, and you can really see that they're blocks when it's highlighted. You can really see the different units of content. But I just clicked and dragged my mouse, and then I'm going to select this block handle here to the left. And this means I've got this section and I'm moving it, as you can see. And what you're going to look for is this blue line. So wherever this blue line is where this content will land. So if the What's New page is totally highlighted, this means the policies section would be dropped within. If I put it here, it would be below team. But I'm going to put it in a column, and so I'm actually going to go all the way to the right and drop it where I see this vertical blue line. So I want it to be to the right of teams, and I've dropped it. I've just released my mouse. So now policies is moved over to the right. As you can see, it's kind of pushed down the team content. So I'm going to do the same thing and just click and drag my mouse to select it, click that block handle, and drag it to the top. So now we've got this column structure. And again, if I highlight, you can see how that structure is playing out. So the structure ends at the bottom here. It's not applying to the top here, but all of these pages are in a column. And you can click this gray, this gray vertical line to move the column width. So if I want it to be shorter, I could move it here. One reason you would want to have, slimmer columns is if you wanted to add, 3, 4, 5 columns in one kind of row. If you do that, I would encourage you to make your page full width, which you can do by clicking the top right, ... and then selecting full width. Here, there's not a lot of content to showcase that, but if we remove full width, it's kind of going to be pushed back. It's a little bit more clear in the Fig Home example that's built out more. So currently it's full width. And if I remove that, I think I'm zoomed in too much. Well, I encourage you to play around with that. So that's really quickly how you can kind of build out that content. So we've got this structure down, but if we wanted to go back to company home, here we could add the owner and the update. So maybe we can have owned by me, update by, say, September 1st. And it's just going to be gray right now, which means it's just referencing a date. But you can click reminder and set this on the day of the event or one day before, etc. And once a reminder is set, it adds a little clock and it becomes blue. So you can see that this will send me a reminder on September 1st. And again, I can change the color here. So I can select the block, change the color to gray, italicize it all if I want, etc. And then we have the callout block in the Fig Home as well. So you can insert that /callout. And this is, again, just kind of a way to call attention to something for your users. So maybe we want to say, like, please check out at company goals 2021 each week, something like that. And again, you can change the order of this. So this could be at the top if you want, etc. So those are just a couple of ways that you can customize your wiki and really get the most out of it. And again, we do have a template that you can use to have a starting point. So that's a more traditional wiki that we've gone over so far. I have another example built out that I often share with our enterprise users of how to have a team home or company home at scale. Because if your homepage is larger than this, you have many more sections than this, it can be kind of overwhelming to have all of your content in a page like this. So one thing I like to show is how to use a database, a Notion database, to really build out your content. So as you can see, all of these pages are the same as what's in Fig Home. I can even toggle that to show. And so I've basically duplicated them all and put them into a database format. And here, instead of having different column sections, I've created a select property and named them according to the sections. And if we open up the What's New page, you can see it's all the same as it was in the Fig Home. So each of these pages, each of these rows in the database contains a page. So you're getting a fundamentally similar experience within the page. So we can compare that if we go to this What's New page. But the way it's organized is more structured. It's more formal structure. And so you can see here at the top, we have an owner still and a reminder date as well. But instead of these just being texts or mentions at the top of the page, they are actually baked into the database page. So these are properties that are actually associated with the page itself. And again, we have the section associated as well. One advantage of the database is you can see this last updated option. You can surface that very easily. And that, I know in a wiki, is super useful information when something was last updated. And so that's more easily surfaced in a database page. If we go back to Fig Home, the wiki, you can actually see this as well. If you click the block handle of a page, you can hover over the bottom of this menu and see when this page was last edited, when it was created, who last edited it, who created it, etc. But that's not surfaced on the page itself. So that's an advantage of using the database as a wiki format. And here we have different sections. So it's not just these, sections as labels. I've actually filtered by these sections. So for example, if I go to this Office of CEO view, I've filtered by this section label. And same thing for Fig.io General. All of these same pages are listed in this section. We have the owner and the last updated time surfaced. And then we have another view called Recently Updated. And here we're sorting by, last updated. So you can see what has been updated most recently. And so this could be useful if you're monitoring your content and you're wanting to see, who's changing what, if the owners are updating, or if something has changed accidentally, who's done it, when it has been last updated. So the power of the properties here are that, any property that you have, be it last updated or owner, you can sort and filter based on that information. We also have this highlight property, and this is kind of doing the work of the callout block that I showed previously. So we have this must-read highlights section in which I'm mentioning these 3 pages, just like I'm mentioning them here in the must-read docs callout. And I've done that just by adding this highlight property, and for the pages I want to highlight, I've associated, this star label. And I've done that just by, bringing up my emoji picker and creating a label as if that was text. So that's one way that you can kind of play around with the property labels, but also how you can segment content, in more ways than just your section type or your owner or, your last updated, etc. So we're even able to call out these specific subpages. So those are a couple of advantages of using the databases. You can really take advantage of this last updated option, last edited option, etc. And you can segment your content in more creative ways and kind of systematize it a little bit more than you can in the page style wiki. So I'm going to quickly show you how you can start to build out that kind of database format, just like we built out this company home. So again, I'm going to create a new page here. I'm going to name this company database and add an icon if I want. I can also add a cover, even if it's a database. And I'm going to start with a table format. So here I could name this to be, page, name this to be section. I'm actually going to change this type. It's currently a multi-select, and that allows you to associate multiple labels with one page. But right now we're using it as a category, a unit. So there's not going to be a page that's like a benefit also a feedback, etc. So I'm going to make that a single select. Going to add the owner here, and that's going to be a person type. And I can also click properties here and add properties this way. So I'm going to have a description, going to stay a text property, can have a date property that I'm going to name needs updating on. And I'm going to add that last edited option. And so that's under the advanced section of properties called last edited time. And that's inherent, that's not manually updated. So you can see all of these were last edited 1 minute ago. Can also have the last editor, if that's helpful. So now that we have these kind of structures set up, I can start creating the content. So I can have, a what's new page, and each of these is a subpage. So I can open this up as a page and, add content like I would any other page. Start to flesh it out, add headers, etc. Right now, I'll just start to, add the dates. So it can be updated on July. And I can be the owner for this. Here I can start building out the sections. So I can have, a team section, and I'm just typing out the words team, clicking team, and then policies. You can change the color here by selecting that. Maybe you want team to be yellow, policies to be blue. You could also edit it up here, the title. And then if I wanted to change the order here, I can go ahead and do that. I can change the width, move things around. I can show or hide something. So I don't think I want to know, who the last editor is immediately. Maybe not having the section, etc. So you can really customize your views that way. And if you already have a wiki built out, you don't have to recreate it in a database. So what you could do actually is click and move your content to a database. So we can move all of the content that I created here in Company Home to the company database. So if we go into what's new and just add some content, so we can add a header, new Notion this week. Just some filler content. We can actually click and drag this to be in the database. So it has a similar logic as moving in page content. Just the line is going to drop it to be its own row. But if I drop it to be, within a row like this, it becomes a subpage. So in that case, you would want to just, call this employee directory, and you can have the content within. This will be what you can do for databases. So if we actually go to the example that I've built out, Fig Home, we can look for the employee directory, be in the Fig General. Can use the search here. It's not in this one. Regardless, you can see in some of these, we have content built out directly, and in some of them, they contain subpages. So like the Q&A, for example, this contains a database that's being shown inline. If I wanted to, I could show this as a page, but I kind of like the inline version. So this is actually a subpage within. So that's what you can do if you choose for some of your content, or like this What's New page, the content can be directly within the database page itself. But again, you don't need to be recreating your content. You can just be dragging it over. So now all of the content we created in this example is in this company database. And again, I can assign owners. So maybe I delete this filler content and I can assign different owners here. And I'm going to surface that section property. And so this is going to be about the team. And then the vacation benefits is in the policy section. If I wanted to update these in bulk, I can select the rows that I want to change and right click and then select edit property and then select the section and insert policies. So I could do the same thing for the date, for example, and have these all be updated on August 1st with a reminder on the day of the event. So that's how you can kind of streamline some of that more manual work. And now that we've had some of this built out, I can create views for different owners or different sections. So I'm going to click add a view here. And maybe I'm going to name this team content. Create that. I'm going to filter on that section. So now this view is only showing team content. So I could do the same thing for the policies content. I could create a new view and then filter on that. But one way to do that quicker is actually just to duplicate the view that you just created. So if you want the same structure and you just want to change one thing about your view, I encourage you to duplicate the view, rename it, policies content, and then we just change what's being filtered on. So that saves you a little bit of time. So this default view, for example, we could sort using that last edited option, descending, and we could surface that property. So that's how you can kind of build out your content in a database. And if you want, you can add a description at the top here. And you can kind of explain to your end users how to use this database. So you can showcase the different sections, like team equals content around employees, and policies equals content about benefits, etc. And here you can, kind of customize this. Oops, make it bold. You can even add directions. So like click default view below to navigate. You give your end users a little bit more context on how to use this database. So hopefully this is helpful on showing you how you can kind of level up your wikis and really make all of the content that you're surfacing for your team organized in a way that makes sense and stays up to date. And again, I think there are a lot of benefits to using the database over a page like this. If you're concerned with updating content, or if you're kind of using content at scale, once there's so many pages here that it makes sense that you want to structure it, in a little bit more formal way. So hopefully you've learned something today, and I encourage you to kind of play around with our database formats to get used to them and see all the different things that you can house in them. So if you have any questions, you can stay on and go to the experts panel, and they have live Q&As. But I hope you had a good time here. Thank you.